NRL Fantasy 2025 cash cows. They are always the talk of the town, and they should be because they're very, very important to the makeup of our 21-man squad. And look, if I could get as many of these guys in my team as possible, that would be great. But a lot of these guys don't have the security and potentially not great scoring. So I'm going to give you... We obviously have gone through all these guys pretty much. There's a couple like Hubner, Sione Finau as well. There's a few different guys that we haven't spoken about too much, so I'll give a little bit more on those guys. And really, we're in here to show my percentage chance of them getting a bench spot or a starting spot and their chance of keeping it. As I said, we've done a lot of the analysis on their actual scoring, so you can go on and check that stuff further. But this Cash Cow Bible, the guy's under 350k. It isn't a tremendously long list. It's at 38, which I think is a lot less than other years. But these are the guys that actually have a decent shot of getting that round one spot, whether it's on the starting side or in the bench. And we're going to watch over the next few days in trials to find out who's going to be in the list. We're going to get team lists next Tuesday, and we're going to get, for 4 teams, and we're going to get the rest of the squads the following week, except for Titans, because they do have the round one bye. So let's get cracking. It won't be too long of a video, guys. And anyone in bold, they're going to receive dual position if they start. So if you see someone in bold, there's not many at the start, but there are a few later on. They will receive dual position if they start. And I've mentioned the position they will get. Guys, if you haven't checked out the description below, all the private group information, we're getting very, very close. I need to get everyone in by Thursday night. If you can do that by Thursday night next week, so you've got a week to jump in to make sure and guarantee that you do get in a fantasy head-to-head comp, which is very important. There's big prizes up for grabs in that. You do have up until the end of round one, so we need to make sure you're in before that second week to make sure you're in line for prizes and all that good stuff as well. And everything else you get in the private group is in the description, so get in there now. There's a week to go, basically, to make sure you're in everything. And do subscribe and hit follow on YouTube and the podcast. For the hooking slot, we have Owen Paddy. For me, he's a 30% chance of getting the bench. I can't see him starting at this point of the season with guys like Starling and Danny Levi. I think there's a small chance that he does push Danny Levi out of the side and Owen gets in that bench spot. I think if he does get the bench spot, it's going to be hard to keep him out of it. So an 80% at that. There's plenty of talent with Owen Paddy, and I'm excited to see him in the league. It could just be a little bit early in his career. He's a young fella, and they do have a couple of guys ahead of him for now. Even if they aren't, tremendous guys, they have more experience for now. Corey Pakes, he does have dual position, so he won't get any more. With that half spot, a 300k for him, I think he's an 80% chance of starter right now. They could definitely change things up, but without Moser in the picture, you won't see him on this list. I think Pakes is a solid guy. Obviously, percentage-wise, 80% start, 60% chance of keeping it. They've got guys like Walters. You got Smoothie with no Moser there right now. They're the kind of guys he's fighting against, but a good chance to start and could be value. Pete Mamazelis, 95% chance of starter for me. I think there's a small chance that it's like Humphreys or something like that, and a 90% chance to keep it. And there's also some news of guys like Jaden Brayley being shopped around, which is pretty wild. And you look at teams like the Eels, like potentially South, these squads that don't have a frontline dominant hooker, Jaden Brayley can end up at those sides. So a small percentage chance that things go wrong and he loses that starting spot. But I think he's got that pretty well locked down. And there's a few of these guys on the list that are a very high percentage chance of keeping it and starting there. What about Toddy Boy in the mids for the Doggies? A 20% chance of getting the bench spot. He was tremendous. His footwork and try scoring ability was great. And work rate there was awesome with the tackle breaks too. And I think if he gets a spot on the bench, then 50% chance he keeps it. I don't see it being like a 1 week thing for someone like this with the talent, but he's super young. Tom Amone, 50% chance of him getting in that team, whether it's a lower minute guy from the starter or similar style from the bench. We don't know his minutes right now, but I think if he gets in the team, 80% chance he keeps it. Just, is he going to be a good option or not? Mr. Hubner, Lockie Hubner from the South. So we've had all the issues with with Murray, with Latrell, potentially Shaq Mitchell. I don't know if that one's been confirmed. There was some news on Kolomatangi being injured as well, but I'm not sure if those two are confirmed. But that was what another fantasy site popped up on theirs. But if that's the case, guys like Hubner with Aitken out, are going to be really important. We're not sure if Arrow is going to be there round one. I think he's a decent show for it. But Hubner, if he's on the bench or in that starting 13, then I think it's a 50% chance he stays in the team as a whole and a 50% chance of keeping it. Wiremu Greg's an interesting one. He's obviously got the start this week in the trial, but Junior Paulo is out of the side right now. So 80% chance I think he's in the side, most likely bench. 80% chance he does keep it because I think there is a spot for him. It could be Williams and Junior Paulo there in the starting side, and then I think there's room for Greg, just to move back to the bench, especially if they considered him as a starter in round one, in this first trial. Yeah, but not sure if it's going to be bench for small minutes or decent minutes, but I think he'll be in that side. All right, we got Tapua from the Sharkies. I think it's a 40% chance he actually makes this side as their last forward. And if he does make that side in round one, I think he does keep it. A good chance, good amount of time. 6 out of 10 times I'm saying he does keep that spot. Bentakura, similar to Tapua, I think, with him. It's 40% chance he makes a side, 60% keeps it as well. They're very similar players, very similar size guys, and I think they can have a really good impact on their two teams in the Sharkies and also the Broncos. So keep those two guys in your thoughts. And Royce Hunt looks like 100% chance he'll make the side, and I think 95% he keeps it unless fitness-wise or whatever doesn't suit him. Doesn't suit the side. I think he should be in the side. It's just going to be how many points is he going to score. All right, we have Mr. Fletcher from the South. So there's been a lot of movement in the last 2 days, obviously, and clearly with them, with Cam Murray going down, and we're going to find out some more information on Duncan and Kolomatangi and Hubner and obviously guys like Fletcher, but speaking to Mr. Chris, the legend in our private group, he is a massive Bunnies fan. I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen him in group chats and all the rest, but he's saying that Fletcher is their only other current edge cover with Host out and Aitken out at the moment. So Fletcher, if something changes in his side or if there's another injury in the edge, then he could be the guy that sneaks into the side, a 20% chance and a 50% chance to keep it for the time that we're expecting him to be in that spot for. Kai O'Donnell, 50% chance I think he makes the bench, 50% chance he keeps it. With him, it's pretty simple on that one. If we get another injury, he could start in that edge anyway. And definitely over Origin and things like that. But Jack Jasewski, so 60% chance of starter, I think, at the moment, wildly enough. 50% chance of keeping it. They've got a P. Kura who, people have touted for Origin and all this type of stuff that apparently he's ahead of right now. So keep an eye out on that, but at a nice price, that's for sure. Halasima with the Waz, we've got him, we've got Valmarga, we've got Laban on this list, and with Halasima, I think it's a 30% chance he's a starter, 40% for Laban. Both those guys more likely to be the edge starter than to start in the middle, whereas I think Valmarga probably more chance of being in the team as a middle forward that can play a little bit of edge, considering he was named there in the trial the other day. Laban was in the All-Stars, and Halasima had some good moments as well. Some 3 good young players in that side. I think for them, it's Halasima, 50% chance of keeping it. I think Laban's probably a tiny bit ahead. And then Valmarga's probably a little bit ahead of that, I think, because he can play a little bit more through the middle, which could be helpful for him. And as I said, split some time on that edge. So Valmarga, tick under 300k. Probably has the most chance of being in the team, but is more expensive than the other guys. Blake Steep, we're in the edges, guys, clearly here. 40% in chance in the team, I think, at this point on the bench, and 60% he keeps it. But this whole situation with the Roosters, it could be a weird one again with guys like Wong, guys like Nafahu White. If they're to start, so if Wong was to start there at 13, then that Butcher would be on the bench. And in that case, where did the minutes come from for some of these guys? Does Wong play 30 as a starter and not come back on? Does Nafahu White still play decent minutes? Does Butcher get 50 minutes? It's a big question mark for this side. And with Wong, I think 50% chance of starting right now. He's been named there 2 weeks in a row. 50% chance he does keep it though. And if he was to be benched, the minutes are unknown, but more chance of better minutes as a starter. Charlie Geimer, 75% chance for him to be in the team. With Hopgood there, he won't get the 13. 75% chance he does keep his spot on the side. But again, price-wise, is he worth it as a bench guy? Had to put my boy Oren Keeley in. He's tick under 350k. I think he's a 20% chance to starter, but it does seem like he's injured at the moment. I don't know enough on his situation, but I just know he can score really well, and he kills it in cup. So 70% chance he does keep it if he gets the start, but unlikely for now. For the halves, we've got Sandon Smith, 100% starter. I think 90% chance he keeps it. He played solid on the weekend. He's the goal kicker as well. But I think we only need him for the first couple of months anyway, if we want. Tom Duffy, 50-50 on both for him. Really, really talented. I think those guys you do just slot in, even if they play round one and have a chance to lose their spot. The talent is what gets you with these guys, and they can usually do pretty well. Kurt Donahue, I think it's an 80% chance he's bench and 80% chance he keeps it. And in game, if there's injuries, it looks like he can play 9. He can play fullback, and we know he can play like positions like 6. So injuries come up in game, he could be interesting. So if there's worse picks, I think at 250k, if he's to be the bench guy, and has plenty of talent. So there's something there. Just is it going to come into fruition, and is it going to work? I'm not sure. And then number 24, guys, we've got Sanders, Price, and Humphreys all at 350k. They all have a low chance of starting all the same, but definitely could be good if they do get the start. And then for centre, guys, we've got Rob Toyer, number 25 out of 38. He's a 75% starter, I think, and 75% chance he keeps it. I wanted to keep them at a decent number. I personally think he starts, but that's just a feeling rather than the percentage chance. He's going to be fun this year. I think Jesse McLean, he's got the dual position, wing fullback. Wong as well, if he starts at 13, will get that dual. So I forgot to mention that, sorry, for those listening on podcast. For Jesse, it's a 50% chance of starting, 70% chance he keeps it, I think, if he gets that spot. Obviously, his brother Casey would be breathing down his neck. But he could be a fun one for sure, and I'm keen to see if he gets that. It would be some nice wing fullback and centre cover. Marion Seve, I've got him a 10% starter. I think he needs an injury. He's one away probably. But 250 is wild for him. Kitty Katoga, 60% chance of starter, 60% chance he keeps it. And guys, if you are looking at him on fantasy, he's still classed as a bulldog. So they haven't moved him over and they've still got him as a centre. So if he gets the spot in round 1, he will become a centre and edge dual player, which would be good fun. So looks like at the moment he's got that spot, but plenty of chance to lose it as well. A solid pickup early. Stafford Toa, it's getting a little bit more exciting on his front. 50% starter for him with guys like Dewey around, guys like Jazzy Olam around. Does Naden lose a spot? Does Toa lose a spot? We don't know at this point. But 50% and 70 to keep it if he does manage to earn it in round 1. Because we know he can do well. I'm keen to see that one. If he starts, he's in my side, I think. Purdue, 50% and 50 to keep it as well. Very much the same as Duffy, because you've got Laybut and you've got Jake Clifford, who could easily take the spot from those two young guns, but they're both super talented. That is Purdue and Duffy. I'm excited to see them this year, but is it going to be perfect from round 1? I don't know. What about Karapani? We haven't spoken about him in the preseason, but I'm not sure. There was apparently some whispers last week that Karapani was ahead of Dean Mariner. You then see Dean Mariner obviously playing the All-Stars, but then... Did he play in the All-Stars or played for Broncos? I still didn't check that one out. Did he play for Broncos the week before? In their first hit-out? I think that might be the case. And Karapani's playing in this one with basically, close to their full-strength side, especially in the back. So that part's interesting, and he's coming from a few teams now. And his scores aren't that bad in centre. It's, mostly games in 2019 and 20, but he does average like 31. So he's interesting if he gets to start for a Broncos team, that's for sure. But 50% either way to start and to keep it. Tamale, with the Raiders there, he'll get dual as well. He's centre at the moment along with Isaiah Tass. Both those guys has 100% starters in round 1. Tamale's a 50% chance keeping it. I don't know. It's up in the air with him and Albert Hopewade. And with Isaiah Tass, he's 80% chance to keep his spot, I think. Looks like he'd be going to be the goal kicker now. So unless we see a Fletcher Myers, who I believe kick some goals, we should see Isaiah Tass goal kicking, and hopefully he's putting in some work this week. We'll have to see it in Charity Shield, and then he'll have to step up in round 1. Gee, that side looks interesting though. Like we've got Tass and we've got Munro there and wing fullback, who I've got as a 100% starter as well and 80% to keep it. I'd have him just ahead of Tass, but then Tass probably has to goal kick unless Fletcher Myers comes in for Tass. Campbell Graham not there at the moment. Latrell out. Cam Murray out. It's not looking good for outside backs, to be honest, for the Bunnies. And it's a scary watch for those two guys, 300k and 325, if they're going to be really important players in our fantasy teams, or they're just going to be okay and kind of tread water between 300 and 400k. That's the tough one. What's not tough right now is Rob Darby. I don't think he's getting his spot. But 15% starter. If he does keep it, 30%. We've got Sione Finau. That's what I've got there. 50% starter and chance of keeping it as well for him. Looks like he's got that spot at the moment, but the guys like Sloan, guys like Tuipulotu are going to come into that position. He played one game last year and one game in 23. They priced him up off that one score of 35 last year against the Panthers in an Origin round there, round 13. So he's a guy that I think could definitely do well, but it is the Dragons, and does Tuipulotu come in and take Fainai's spot, or does he take Finau's spot? Yongi, 95% starter, 85% to keep it, I think. You've got Joash Papali'i, who's an incredible player as well, so there's that little bit of risk there, and obviously there's a little bit of risk for him to take it for round one, but I doubt it unless he's carrying a bit of a niggle, Yongi, and you've got someone like that can come in and light it up a bit. And then to finish off, it's Nawanga Nitawaze. At 70% chance I've got him to start, and actually a 70% chance to keep it if he gets that start as well, with Billy Smith dealing with a hip injury right now. I'm not sure if he's going to be set for round one. I'm giving it a 30% chance that he's available, because I think if Billy Smith comes in, we will see Maki Nawanga Nitawaze miss out, because I think Rob Toy's got the spot. Defended so well the other day. I think that was enough. Two tackles for 4 misses against Moses Sully versus Rob Toy on the other side, which actually was against Val Holmes for the first 30 minutes. So that's massive. Massive on that one, I think, defensively, especially with new combinations on the edges with the halves and, the centers especially. Back row should be pretty well set, but yeah, halves and centers, it's massive defensively. So if he can defend like that, that's awesome. But I still think Nawanga Nitawaze gets that starting job 70% of the time. Let me know if you like that format, guys. It's 38 guys fairly quickly, just giving a bit of an update on a few of them, and a percentage chance I think is helpful when you're selecting your cheapies, because there's 38 of them. I think, 10, 15 are going to get the spot, but which sort of 5, 6, 7 are you going to be able to select for, whatever you want to decide? Mixing in with those, including over 300. So I was thinking like 250k. That's sort of 6, 7, 8 between 350 and below. Are you going to go for out of the 12 to 15, 17, 18 that get a spot in a bench or starting spot in round one? It's going to be fun, guys. Can't wait for all that to shake out and work out if we can select the right guys. But hopefully we find a little bit more info out before round one, or the second lot of team list, which I'll probably get the next sort of the must-have cash cows. I'll probably get that out once we get team lists in the second line of things. So this will be the last cash cows one for now, and we'll get into the second one come the second week. Thanks, guys, and we'll catch you in the next one.